Alright, hey everyone, before we jump into Fusion 360, I just wanted to show you what we are making today. So this is my fourth iteration or version of this knife, and each time I improved the design just a little bit, and this time I've made some pretty major changes again. Having this be an all plastic knife left it pretty weak, even on my version 3. Version 3 by far is the strongest, and it's definitely okay for cutting paper, cardboard boxes, that kind of thing. But this version, I introduced some metal parts. So I have a metal pivot. These are like fabric rivets. So there's kind of a long, I don't know, I guess you got the screw part, which has the Phillips head on it, and then you have the part that would be a bolt is kind of like a shaft, and they fit in together, and then you have a smooth shaft on the outside that can work as a pivot. So that's a lot stronger. And then on the blade holder part, the middle part, so if this is a sandwich, right, you got your three pieces, the middle part that holds the blade, there's also a metal pin, these guys right here, that these are 3 millimeters in diameter and 10 millimeters long, and that is now metal inside here. And what this pin does, as you can see, when this closes, this blade can't go any further than this, because in what's the term, relative to this bottom wing, it can only rotate 180 degrees. So here's 0 degrees, and here is 180, and you see it can't get pushed this way relative to this. And the same is true for the blade holder relative to this. It can't get pushed this way. It can get pushed this way in relative to this one, but on this one, it's locked at this 180, and here's your 0, it's locked here. So when these are closed, this middle blade can't move. It is locked in that position, so it can't just fall out of here. And the same thing is true when it's open. This blade can't move. And of course, they are held in by magnets, so or held together with a nice click. So 1 click, 2 clicks. So it's got 2 magnets here, 2 magnets here, and that kind of holds it in place while you're using it. And when you close it, another click. One thing I think I'm going to show, or one update I'm going to make on this knife, is these little pins here. I think I'm going to put a hole in here on each side of this and put a pin in one of these. Maybe put a pin on one side and then a hole on the other side. So when you shut this, you actually have to lift it apart a little bit and set the pin. And that way, if this is in your pocket or something, it literally cannot open. So it would be much safer in your pocket. Now I carry one of these in my pocket, or at least I have been. Honestly, it's kind of dangerous, but I just use that as a fidget toy half the time. I'm just clicking. But you know, there's a chance that this could, for whatever reason, come apart in your pocket, and then all of a sudden you've got this blade that can come loose. And with that pin in here, that couldn't happen without you physically pulling this apart. Which then maybe that if that's the case, there's probably no need even to have a magnet. So I'm going to explore that probably in part 2 of the video. And what else is there to say about this? Oh, one other thing from my previous version is I created a spring mechanism for this blade holder. Now, the one I'm showing you here didn't quite work out to be toolless. I was kind of hoping you could put your fingernail in here and pull that out, which will take this little knob here down. It'll push it down, then you can just pull the blade out. I made this spring just a little bit too strong, so what you have to do with this version is use a little screwdriver or something that you can kind of use as a lever to pull it and then as you're doing that, you pull the knife out. It's not super convenient, but in the design I'm going to show you in this two-part video, I'm going to try to make the spring a little better, and hopefully we can get that to work out. So I believe in the first part of the video, I'm going to go through the sketch that I made for this in Fusion 360, and then I'm going to do the bulk of the building. And then in the second video, I believe I'm going to work on the spring section and do like the finishing touches, like the chamfers and stuff like that. So let's jump into Fusion. All right, now that we're here in Fusion 360, let's get started. I'm going to try to kind of keep it to the point today as much as I can, because this is going to be a long one. This isn't rehearsed, and I'm just going to kind of take you through my journey of designing this knife. Disclaimer, I've designed this before, but I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to go off any old designs. I'm just going to do it from scratch, and I've got a few new things that I want to try, so you'll see me struggle through it. So the first thing we're going to do is create the blade, the utility blade. And this is one of the things that I know all my measurements because through trial and error. So I'm just going to create a sketch here. I'm going to hit L for the line tool and then X to make it a construction line. And you can either hit X on the keyboard to toggle that on and off, or you can click it right here. So let's draw a vertical line, and that's going to be 18.8 millimeters. And I want to work off the origin. So I'm going to center this on the origin. So I'm going to go up here to the midpoint tool, click on my line, click on the origin, and now that centers it. Hit escape to get off the tool. I'm going to hit X to toggle off that construction line. I'm going to hit L for a new line, and this time I'm going to draw a horizontal line at 31.5. I'm going to draw another line at 61.25. Okay, now I want to center these on this construction line. So same thing, midpoint tool, click this line, click this point, click this line, click this point. And now we can just close in my blade here. Okay, we have the outline of the blade. The blade I use, the utility blades I use are just Stanley blades. So in the USA, those are pretty common, but every utility blade is going to be just a little different size, even if it's like by a millimeter or a half a millimeter. That could affect your model. So if you're going to follow along and use your own blades, you might have to do some trial and error with the blade size. But that's always something you can go back and change later. Like more than likely, you're going to have to print it, see everything fits, change some things, print it again, and do that until everything works like you want it to. So, okay. Now let's make the notches here. I know that I'm going to tidy this up a little bit. I know my little hole here has to be 3.4, has a 3.4 millimeter diameter. So I'm going to hit C for circle tool. I'm going to drag out and type in 3.4. And if you hit D for dimension, we can move this exactly where we need it. So the dimension tool is right here, or you can just hit D on the keyboard, click the center of this circle, click this, and as I drag this up, I can click again and type in 12.55. And then I'm still on the dimension tool, so I'm going to click the circle again, click this line, and this is supposed to be 2.47, and hit enter. And let's make these lines. So I need to find the tangent. I want a line to be 90 degrees off this and tangent with this circle. So if I hover over the center of the circle, it'll kind of snap to the center. And then I can just move my mouse over to the side. You can see it's kind of snapping to these positions. Then I can click the mouse, and there we got it perfect. And now I can do that. Now it kind of remembers that, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, and now we can mirror that along this line, across this line. So I'm going to hold Shift and click on these 3 little sketches I made. Go up top to the mirror tool. I've got my 3 selected. Now I want to select my mirror line and hit OK. And you can see on a sketch like this, it can start getting really busy in here. So if you want to see what it looks like without all this, without all the constraints and the dimensions and stuff, you can uncheck constraints and dimensions and see what it looks like. So I'm going to try to do as much of this sketch for the knife. I'm gonna try to draw out basically the entire knife in one sketch. And if from the beginning of the video, this knife comes in 3 parts, right? Like a sandwich. You've got your 2 outer parts, which are like the wings, and then you've got the center part, which is the blade holder. And I'm gonna draw every part in this one sketch. And it may seem confusing to you at first, but you will kind of figure out, or I'll try to explain why I'm doing it, and you'll see at the end why I did what I did. So, okay, so we have our blade here, and now let's sketch out some other things for this knife. So I'm going to turn my constraints and stuff back on just for the time being. I'm going to hit R for the rectangle tool, and when you hit, or you can come up here to rectangle, and there's options on what type of rectangle you want to make. I want to drag out from the center, so I'm going to choose center rectangle. I'm going to snap to this origin mark, click the mouse, and drag out. And you can see up at the top in blue, that's the dimension for one side. If I hit the tab button on the keyboard, it goes to the other side. I want this to be 25 millimeters. Hit tab, and we'll do 63 millimeters. Okay, now actually I'm going to turn dimensions and constraints off for the time being. The next step is to make 2 circles on each side. And so find the center point of this line here. And to do that, you don't have to click the mouse. You just move the mouse over and go down. And when you see that triangle, you're on the center. So you can click the left mouse button, drag up, click again. Same thing on this side. Click again. Now I'm going to tidy this up a little bit. I only need this 1/2 of the circle. So there's a trim tool here, or you can hit T on the keyboard, and you can kind of come in and start cleaning up this section. Now I'm getting a warning here because I'm moving some of the constraints of this circle, but that's okay for now. Or it is okay because we don't really need them. Also, this video is just for entertainment, obviously. There are people who are far better at Fusion 360 than me, so if you're watching this and you can think of better ways to do it, please let us know. I may not do everything correctly. I'm self-taught, so hopefully you can pick up some tips, and if you have tips for me, leave them in the comments. So in the beginning of the video, you saw that I used some hardware. I used these like steel metal pins that go around the pivot or go around to make these move 180 degrees. And then I've got this, I'm not even sure what you call these, like rivets, I guess. It's got like a long nut that acts kind of as the shaft, and then a screw. And that needs to be 5.2 millimeters in diameter. And again, I'm getting the warning just because my dimensions aren't visible and it's telling me that, but I don't like working with all these dimensions showing because it drives me nuts. It just seems too cluttered for me. So now we're going to do the the little groove here that allows it to turn 180 degrees. And I'm going to make it so it's parallel with this line, right? Because I don't want to put it here, the groove to go like this, because then it'll be too close to the corner of this knife. So I'm going to draw a line, and it doesn't matter where you draw it, just like that. And I'm going to use the parallel tool. So I'm going to click here, and now that's parallel. Wait, actually it's oh, it's already been applied, so it's already parallel. And now I'm going to do the midpoint tool there, and I'm going to do, just to keep things clean, actually, you know what, I don't need to do that. I'm gonna, so by the way, if you want to change the line to a construction line or vice versa after the fact, you can just click on the line and hit X on the keyboard, and you can see it toggling on and off here. This line isn't important. This is just going to allow me a place to draw my circles. So I'm going to draw another circle, and I'm going to toggle on construction. And this doesn't need to be a certain spot. It kind of can just be wherever you want. You may want to pick kind of like a midpoint or something like that. I'm going to do 14 millimeters and hit OK. Now I'm going to toggle off that construction. I'm going to hit C for circle. And this is where that metal pin goes. And I know this needs to be 3.2 millimeters. We need another one down here for the 180 degrees, 3.2 millimeters. And now I want to make this groove. So the simplest way to do it is to draw more circles and drag up till it's tangent with the small circle. Draw another one tangent with that small circle. And there you go. And then when we start making bodies, we can select these profiles here and cut that out. Okay, so let's just continue with the wings instead of the blade holder, and we'll kind of come back to that. And we need some magnet holes right here. So I'm going to draw a line and hit X to make it a construction line. Right from the center here over. I'm going to draw a circle, and I know my circle needs to be, I'm going to hit escape, hit X to get out of that construction. My circle needs to be 6.24. And now you can see it turns blue here. And the reason it's blue is because, oh, what's the term I'm looking for? It's not constrained, or it's not defined in the sketch. So I have to add some dimensions here. So I'm going to add a sketch dimension, and I'm going to do a kind of a cool trick. I want this circle from here to here, we'll say, oh, let's say 6 millimeters. Let's just see what this looks like. That's probably too big. Let me turn my dimensions on. Let's make this 5 millimeters. That's about right. And now if you hover over this, you see how it says D14? That is basically the code to this dimension. And so what I can do to make, I'm going to now click on the circle again and this line and click, and I'm just going to type in D14 and hit enter. And so now whenever I change this one also changes. So if I change this to 4, you can see they both go in. Now this measurement's 4 millimeters and this measurement's 4 millimeters. So let's go back to 5 because that seems too close. And now we're going to mirror this across. So I'm going to click that circle, hit the mirror button, select my mirror line right here, and hit OK. And I'm going to turn dimensions off just so it doesn't drive me crazy. And one thing new with this design that I haven't done in the past is people have been concerned that, and it's a valid concern, even though it hasn't happened to me, that there's no way to lock the blade in the closed position and open position. And some feel that if it's in the closed position in your pocket and it comes open, obviously if you reach your hand in there, you could cut yourself. And I think I've come up with a solution to that. It's not super elegant and you don't have to use it, but I'm going to add it to this sketch. So I'm going to draw another circle here. And I'm just going to pick a random spot, and we're going to do the 3.2. And let's see, let's hit D for dimension to this line. Let's go 3.5 millimeters. And that looks pretty good. Okay, and I will, actually you would already know what this is because I should have shown it in the beginning of the video. Hopefully I'm not repeating myself, because I'm actually recording this part before I record the intro, because I'm actually going to design this here and then print it, but I want to show you that print before I start designing this. So okay, so I got my magnets, I've got my hole for the pin, I've got my holes for the pin and the little groove here for the rotation. So now we need to work on the blade holder a little bit. Now I want to do an allowance around this blade, and because there has to be some room for the blade to fit in. So I'm going to click on the outline of the blade, click on the offset tool. I do not want this to be a construction line, and it's not letting me move this, which I guess is fine. I don't know why this is way over here. I'm going to do 0.08, a really small allowance. So that's 0.08 all the way around, which is, 0.16 total. And I find that to be a pretty good allowance for this, at least for my blades. And of course, that might change for you, depending on what plastic you're using, PLA versus PETG versus ABS, right? They all shrink and move differently as it cools off. So you might find that this is too tight of a fit for your blade, and you may have to increase this tolerance or decrease it. And the same thing with all of these. I'm going to link the hardware that I use in the description, but if you are using your own magnets, you're going to have to change the size of these magnet holes and the pivot point and these pins, right? So you may be making a bunch of changes anyways. So let's draw another line. So L for line, we're going to click, and you see how those two little dash lines are there? That's showing that it's parallel to the line I'm connecting to. There we go. And now we know that's a straight line. And I want to make another line that goes down this way, and that will keep this blade open. So, and again, this will make sense as I go. So I'm going to click on that corner, come down, click somewhere in here. And again, this isn't defined. So I want this to be parallel with that. And I think for now, the only thing left to draw is the spring. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to save that for a different sketch later on. I think I just want to get the basic stuff down. I might split this video into 2 videos. I mean, I'm already at like 18 minutes or 19 minutes. So let's start making some of these bodies, and then we'll do the spring last, because that gets a little complicated, and honestly, I'm not good at it. It's a little messy. So, okay, I think we have a pretty good starting position here. So let's finish the sketch, and let's make the knife holder first. So I'm going to create a new component, and I'm going to call it, I keep calling it a knife holder, but I mean blade holder. The whole thing is a knife, right? And the utility blade is what goes in the knife. I don't know if that's true, or I don't know if that's correct, but blade holder. Okay, let's start making the blade holder. So we need to click everything that is going to be part of this blade. I think that is everything right there. Basically what I just did there is I just clicked and dragged over. I don't know why it's not collecting. Oh, you want to know why it's not collecting or selecting everything is because if you go to the up and left with this dotted line, it'll grab everything it touches. But if you go this way, it's only going to select it if you're selecting the whole thing. So we may have to manually come in here and select some things. We do not need this because that'll always be a hole. And now I'm going to hit E for extrude, and I'm going to extrude it 3 millimeters. I want this inside to be 5 millimeters thick. So we're going to make the base 3 millimeters, and I'm going to hit OK. And look what it did. It didn't select that area. So let's turn sketch back on. Actually, you know what? All we have to do is double click on our extrusion. And pick these as well. So I'm going to pick this. That's what's nice about Fusion. You can go back in your history and correct things. So now I'll hit OK. And there we've got our solid block. So I'm going to turn this sketch back on. I'm going to turn my body off here, or make it not visible. And now we have to make what goes around the blade. So I want to click in here and here. I guess I should do it this way again. So we're going to click this, this, and this. And we don't need the knife part. So let me bring the body back. I am going to be doing this a lot in this video, what I'm about to show you, so I'm only going to explain it once. I want to, what I have selected here in the sketch, I want to extrude on top of this body. And you can tell if I hit E for extrude, I'm going to start extruding from the position, from the sketch. So let me hit E for extrude. Usually when you can't figure something out, you can, if you read through this, you can get your answers. It's asking me where I want to start the extrude. And I don't want to start it on the profile plane, right? That's where the sketch is. If you click on this, I want to start it at an object that I select. So if you hover over this, it'll kind of give you a description. I'm going to click that, and now it's asking me to select that object. So I'm going to pick the top of this. And now I can just type in my extrusion. So I'm going to do 0.6 and hit enter. And let's turn off this sketch so you can see what I did. And it looks like I screwed up again. I selected this circle, which I don't need. So I'm gonna click that, hide this body. And can I deselect this circle? Click it and deselect it. Now hit OK. Turn this body back on. And what's going on here? Oh, looks like I selected something else. This is getting a little messy on me here. So let's click that again. I'm going to hide this body. I do not need this. I'm going to turn this body back on, join, hit OK. All right, there we go. That's looking better. And now we need to have this little part on top of this that kind of comes out at an angle. So what thickness are we at right now? We are at 3.6, so this has to be 1.4. And the reason I made this 0.6 right here is because that is the thickness of the utility blade. So, and it looks like I closed in my circle, so we'll have to, well, you know what, I'll just do it right now. I can click that. Oops, you know what, let's not mess up our timeline here. Let's click on this again, hide the body, come in here. We do not need that circle. You see how it updates that? And if you put the body back on, that way it joins it together, and hit OK. There we go. And now I'm not messing up this timeline with a new operation. Okay, so now we're going to extrude this up again. So we're going to hit E for extrude and type in 1.4. This time I'm going to do a new body, and we'll hit OK. And the reason I did that is because I want to add a bevel or a chamfer. I guess it's not really a chamfer or bevel. If you look at this line right here, I want this to come out 45 degrees like this. That way it'll lock this blade in. And I'm going to do it kind of in a cool way. There's many ways you can do it. You can draw a sketch on this and draw your profile and then sweep it around this. There's a few ways to do it, but this is kind of cool, and I can introduce a new tool to you if you haven't done it before. So we're going to do the draft tool. And the draft tool to me is still a little confusing, but I kind of have it figured out. And I don't know if this is the best way to explain it, but this is what makes sense in my head. So we're basically the draft tool basically wants you to pick a hinge side, and then it'll allow you to tilt or move that face based on where the hinge is. So I want the hinge to be right here, so then it can come out, right? So if the hinge is right here, this can swing out like a door like this. So I'm actually going to create a construction offset plane. I'll click on this, and it's the arrow wants me to tell me what height to go, and we know 0.6 is the height we want, and that 0.6 should put that construction plane right at that line. So now we can go to draft and the pull direction. So this is what doesn't make sense to me, the pull direction, and maybe others can make sense of it down in the comments, but the pull direction is like the face where your hinge is, and it has to be perpendicular to the face you're going to move. I hope that makes sense. So the pull direction is going to be this face right here. And I think if you click again, it changes directions. Yeah, like that. Actually, let's just see what that does. You know what? Let's not right now. There's the pull direction. That's when you click it once. The faces now, we're going to choose this face, and this face. And now we can take this little handle and move it 45 degrees and hit OK. And you see what we just did there? Isn't that cool? It's a really cool tool. And like I said, I don't know if I explained that exactly right, but that makes sense to me. I am kind of curious at what this will do if I reverse this arrow. So let me reverse this arrow and then do it. Oh, same thing. So I guess it doesn't really matter in this case. I'm sure that does matter sometime, but okay, so we can hide the construction plane. And there is the basic shape. Now I can see something right away. You can see how this sticks out, and I want this line to kind of cut through this. So we are going to hit modify. What am I trying to do? Split body. We're going to choose this body here because I haven't combined them yet. And the splitting tool is going to be this face. And if I scroll out, you can see that red disc is kind of where the cut. Imagine this being like a circular saw blade, and it's going to cut right down that path and hit OK. And now I have 3 bodies here, and I can toggle this one on and off. Let's go to this top view, and let me toggle this one off. You can see what it did. It just cut that along that face. And actually, I'm going to remove this body. So right click, remove. And then let's join these bodies up. So we can go either to modify and combine, or you have it just right here. And our target body is what I want to combine something to. So I want to combine something to the base, which is this bottom part. The tool body is what I'm actually combining. So we're combining this top part, and you can choose join, cut, intersect, join, and we do not need to keep the tool. So we can keep that unchecked and hit OK. And now you can see we have one body, and I'm going to just rename this. I keep saying knife, blade holder. Okay. So what else do we need to do besides the finishing touches? That pin holder. So let's get this sketch out. Let's select this pin. I'm going to hit E for extrude and pull up until you can see it come out the other side and hit OK. And I think what we'll do is we'll actually make the knife. We'll make the blade. So let's shut off this body for a second. When I say shut off, I just mean make it not visible by clicking this little eye. So for some reason I always say shut off, but I probably should say make it not visible. Let's turn the sketch on, and let's make the blade. So I'm going to hold shift and click everywhere that I need to, and I think that's it. I don't think I have the selected. Okay. I'm going to turn this body back on because remember, I don't want to extrude from here. I want to extrude from here. So I'm going to hit E for extrude. The start is going to be on the top of this plane, and I'm going to type in 0.6. And I don't want to join. I don't want to join to the body we already made. So this is going to be a new body, and hit OK. And let's just name this right away. We're going to type in blade. Turn the sketch off. And then there you can see the blade, and you can see the little allowances we made here. And that should be 0.08, 0.089. So something happened, something changed a little bit when we did that. I'm losing my words. Oops, didn't mean to do that. When we did the draft. Let's see what this one is. So click here and click here, 0.08. So somehow this changed by 0.001, which 0.009, which I guess doesn't really matter. Okay, if anyone knows why this would have changed, let me know in the comments. So let's make this look more like a blade just for the fun of it. We're going to chamfer this edge, and instead of an equal distance, we're going to do two distances, and we'll go down 0.6 here, and then we'll take this one back, maybe like 2. That's looking blade-like. And then you know what, to make it even look better, let's hit A on the keyboard. Let's do fusion appearances, scroll down till you see metal, and we'll go to stainless steel, and then you can click, hold, and drag it over to this knife. And this texture is too big, so you can go over to your design materials here, double click, and there's a scale option here. You can scale that down, hit done. Let's get out of the metals and go to the plastics, and we'll just do ABS, which will drag on to the plastic part. I'll double click. Let's make this kind of like a blackish color. Done. And you can even see you get the glare on the knife now, and that looks pretty cool. Okay. So I'm going to move on from this. The only thing we really have left to do on this part is the spring. Remember, the reason we drew these little circles, these little knobs here, is because that is what's going to hold the blade in place. It's going to kind of stick up past this blade. And the other thing are just like finishing touches, like, whoops. If you ever get into this situation, I did this before. You see how I like can't click anything? There's like a blue outline. It's because I didn't actually close the appearance tab. I minimized it accidentally, and I want to close. And now I'm kind of back out of that appearance mode, and now I can actually select things. Anyways, we're going to add chamfers and make this, you don't want these like big points right here because that just doesn't 3D print very well. So we'll do kind of all that at the end. For now, we're going to move on. This looks pretty good. So okay, let's make the next part of this knife. We're going to do the two outer wings, or the pieces of bread. Here's your meat, right? This, and we're going to do the base and the lid, I'm calling them. The base being the bottom, the lid being the top, at least from this orientation. So let's start a new component. I just realized I haven't saved this yet. So let me just save this as, we'll just make it like YouTube knife and hit save. In the browser, now you can see it's saved as YouTube knife. Okay, let's do create new component. And this component is going to be called the base, and we'll hit OK. And now you can see that it is within this first component. And I do not want that. I want this to be separate from this component. So you can click and drag this up to the very top of your browser. And now it is its own component. and you can select between them. So you can see when I click on the blade holder component, you just see this timeline. And when I click on this one, I don't have a timeline yet because I haven't created anything yet from the base. And if you find that only the component that you have selected is visible and everything else disappears, what you want to do is go up to your preferences and go down to, well, usually it starts on general, but go to assemblies and make sure active component visibility is unclicked. And that way you'll be able to see all the components here. Okay, so let's make the base here. So let's kind of hide that component, and let's make the base. So the first thing we have to do is select everything. Again, except the circle, because we don't, we'll never need that circle because that's going to be like a pass-through hole. And I'm going, oh, you know what? We're on blade holder. So this always, I'm new to working with components and I always forget to do this. I need to get in the habit. I'm on blade holder here and I want to be on base. So I want to make sure I'm on the right component when I start making this. So, all right, select everything except for this hole. And I'm going to hit E for extrude. And I don't want to extrude up, even though that's fine to do, but I'm just going to extrude down. That way it'll be in line with my blade holder. And I'll kind of show you. So let's see. Let's do negative 3.5. And we'll hit OK. And I somehow did everything the opposite of what I wanted. I only did that hole. What just happened there? E for extrude, negative 3.5. Hit enter. I don't know what just happened there. I must have accidentally switched my selection somehow. Okay, so now if I turn on my blade holder and I turn off the sketch, now you can just see they're lined up. So let's turn off the visibility of the blade holder and go. Okay, again, make sure you're on the right component you're working on. We don't want to be working on this component. Let's turn on sketch. Okay, so let's just start hogging things out here. I know my magnets need to be, and I'm going to hit E for extrude. And since the arrow is pointing up and I want this to sink in the other way, I have to put in a negative number. I know my magnets are 2.05. And I know this, which again, I don't know how that got selected again, this inner circle. I'll tell you what, I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to go back to this original extrude. I don't want this. Hit OK. There we go. And okay, let me collect my thoughts here. Let's go back to this metal blade holder here and hide the base, hide my sketch. This right here, this hole is where that metal pin goes. And this is 5 millimeters thick. And my pin is 10 millimeters. So I'll have 5 millimeters left over. So 2.5 on each side of this. So that means if we go back to the base, turn on my sketch, this groove needs to be at least 2.5 millimeters down. And so I'm going to just type in E and I'm going to go like 2.7. And you see I went in the wrong direction. So I need to type in a negative sign and hit OK. And let's just turn off this sketch for a second. Let's make sure we have enough meat here. So if I click on that surface and this surface, I'm only at 0.8. And that's probably not enough. I mean, that's about 4 layers. You know, it's actually probably fine, but we'll figure that out later. The other thing I have to pay attention to is my little pivot thing. That screw thing is 10 millimeters. And I also have a 12 millimeter one. So if this blade holder is 5, Excuse me. And this is 3.5. So that would be, two of these would be 7. So I'm at 12 millimeters, but then I make a little recess of 1 millimeter and recess of 1 millimeter on the other one. So that makes 10. So I don't think we can really change the thickness of this right now without bumping it up. Or I'm sorry, going to the 12 millimeter pivot, which I don't really want to do. So I think I'm just going to have to be satisfied with this being 0.8. It's a small area, so I think it's going to be fine, and it doesn't do anything. You know, actually, you know what you could do to make it look kind of cool is you could just leave this completely open. That would decrease the strength a little bit because now you don't have that bottom, but then you would actually see that metal pin rotate, which kind of might be cool. I think for now though, let's not do that, since in the beginning of the video I'm sure I didn't show that. Okay. And I've already realized I made a mistake. So let's go back here. I want to see, I'm going on my timeline. If you hover over it, you can see what it is. I'm going to actually delete this. And I'm going to bring the sketch back. And that's because I need to bring this up, this whole thing up by 2.5 millimeters. So I'm going to hit E for extrude, hit 2.5, and hit enter. And the reason for that is because, again, this middle section is 5 millimeters, so this has to meet in the middle. So now I can go, and select these magnets. So you don't have to turn the body off every time. It's just easier, but you can click and hold. Select the profile, hold shift, click and hold, select the profile. And then we're going to hit E for extrude. I want to start at this surface and go negative 2.05 and hit enter. And then for this one, since this, you know, we're going to come back to this later because I don't know if I'm going to do this whole yet or not. Turn off my sketch. And this one's pretty much done. These are a lot easier than the other one. I'm trying to think what else this actually needs. The sketch here. I've got my pivots. Okay, I think this is done. I believe the other one is identical, but I don't know if I know how to do this. Let's see if I can figure this out while I'm here. We're gonna turn this on. I'm going to select this body and hit M for move, and I'm going to create a copy. And I want this pivot to be right in the center. So, oops, let me hide the blade holder for a second. Right in the center. And I'm going to rotate it. Oops, we haven't finalized the pivot here. So finalize the pivot, rotate it 180. And then I believe I have to move it up 5 millimeters and hit OK. And that works out perfect, except for this right here. This groove needs to be the opposite. So you can see they're not, it needs to be on this side right here. So we'll have to fix that. But this is kind of nice because it saved us from doing all that extra work. But I do want to make a component. So I'm going to click on this body and do create components from body. I'm going to drag this up to the main. The only problem with that now is I don't have the timeline of when I created this. So I don't know if I like this option. It did save me a bunch of work, but now when I created this component, it is in the timeline of the other one, which I'm not a huge fan of. So maybe don't do that if you care about timeline organization, and we're going to call this one lid. Okay, let's hide the base. And let's bring this lid on. So I'm going to turn on the sketch. Now remember, let's see what it did. Okay, so the first blade was on, I'm looking at it backwards. Everything's turned around. The first blade had this groove cut out. This side, the first blade, the first wing had this side. This wing needs this side cut out. So let me hide this sketch. I'm going to click on this, hit E for extrude, and then just click on this surface and hit OK. I'm going to bring the sketch back. I'm going to click here. I'm going to click on this whole thing here. I'm going to hit E for extrude. Again, I want to start at the object, and I'm going to go down 7, and hit OK. And let's look at, make sure this is, oops, I missed a little section in there. So let's click in there. Oh, my zoom's not working. And we'll click that and hit OK. If all of a sudden you notice that you're like zooming in and out is pretty slow, you can kind of reset it by just hitting the home. And a lot of times that will just reset things. Now you can see I can zoom a lot faster. I don't know why that does that. I don't know if it's like a glitch in my computer or Fusion or what, but let's turn base back on. And now you can see they're opposites. See how this one is on this side of this circle and this one is on the other side? That's exactly what we want. And I'll show you why that's important. So let's make I'm just going to do this under the blade holder since I don't necessarily need another component for this. Let's make this pin here so you can kind of see how it all comes together. So let me turn the sketch on. I'm going to hit E for extrude, and we're going to do two sides. So this bottom side, this top side is going to be 2.5, and the bottom side is going to be 7.5, and that will give me the 10. And I'm going to do a new body, hit OK, and let's make sure this is under my thing, and I'm just going to type in pin so I don't lose this. Let's chamfer this edge just to kind of clean it up. We'll hit the chamfer tool, and we don't need the two distances, we just need the equal, and let's just do like 0.2 millimeters. And of course, to make things look nice, to match the blade, let's hit A on the keyboard, and let's put this stainless steel on this, just for the heck of it. And don't minimize it, close it. Okay, so there's that pin that's going to get put in this blade holder. If I turn the base on, let me turn the blade holder off. You can see the pin is on this side of the groove, and if I turn the lid on, it's on the other side. So you see how they're opposite? And that is going to allow this to turn 180. Oh, it's really hard to explain. I would show you with the joints right now, but man, I suck at joints, and I'm not going to fumble through that right now in this video. So just trust me. This needs to be set up. These grooves need to be the opposite of each other for this knife to work. And maybe off camera, I'll figure out how to do a joint and do it so I can show you, and then I can then explain. But I need practice doing joints before I show anyone how to do it. Okay, let's go back to our lid. Make sure we're selected on the lid, and let's kind of minimize things here. Let's turn off all this stuff. I believe the lid is done. So we pretty much have, whoops, did we turn off the blade holder? The only thing, you know what I might do? Let's hit A. Let's duplicate this ABS. I'm going to hit duplicate. I can't talk right now. It's really late. hit done, and we'll make this like a nice fancy red, and then hit close. Okay, I do know what we need to do. We need to do a few more on these. I need to do another sketch on each one of these. So we need a recess for where that little pivot goes. So I'm going to do a sketch on this plane. I'm going to hit C for circle, and I know it needs to be about 10 millimeters. And hit OK, finish sketch, hit this, and go E negative 1.5. And there you can see it kind of brings that down. So now we need to do the same on the base. So make sure you click over to your component that you're working on so you don't screw up your timeline. And actually, it might automatically, if you select the component, it might automatically go over there. But again, I'm new to doing components, so I just make sure I click on it. So what do I do? 10 millimeters here. Finish sketch. Hit E negative 1.5 and hit OK. Okay, I think I'm going to stop this video here. There's really not a whole, well, you know what? There's not a whole lot left to do. Let's just start chamfering things. Let's just bust this out in one video. Let's work on our blade holder. So let's minimize. Oh, you know what? I still have to do the spring. I still have to do the spring here. So there's actually quite a bit to do. So let's save that for the next video. So I'm going to end it here. And if you can get this far, there's not a whole lot left to do. It's looking pretty cool so far. And one thing I'm going to check, excuse me, I'm going to do section analysis. I'm not sure if I got this right because, so if you go under inspect down to section analysis, it's going to ask you to pick a plane to cut on. I'm going to just cut it right in the middle here. And I'm going to flip it to the front and hit OK. All right, that's kind of what I was thinking. Look at how close that is to those two grooves. It's not a whole lot of meat there. So I think if we go all the way back to this sketch, let's just check. If I click on this sketch to edit the sketch, and let's turn our dimensions on. This is why it's really important to have everything dimensioned. Let's bump this up to 15. And everything should update from there. And it did. See? And actually, I might even click on sketch. I might even bump that up to like 15.5. I don't want to get too close to this edge here because then you don't have as much meat, so it won't be quite as strong. But finish sketch, and there, look, now we've got way more room between here. So if I click on this and click on this, we have, well, it's really only 1 millimeter. So, gosh, I'm not liking that. That's going to make kind of a weak joint. So, but I think for now, I'm gonna keep that as is. And you can see it split in half here. All you have to do right up here is turn off the analysis. And there we go. Okay, now I'm just rambling. Let's stop it here, and we will come back next video and finish it up.